Hello, and welcome to an episode of Todd Talks. And Todd Talks, people listen. Hopefully. I was going to do something more dramatic there, but I just thought, nah, just keep it simple today. So today is a very interesting death battle preview episode because we are going to be talking about Nightwing versus Daredevil, which is apparently one of the highest requested death battle matchups. It's in the top 10% of their submission forms, and this is going to be the first ever live action death battle via Ismahawk. So, and I've seen their work, it's very good, so I have high expectations for this battle. And I'm making it fully known right here, right now, I do not know who I am going to pick because I just got done doing my research, and these two characters are gosh dang insane in their feats. So this will probably be a last minute pick, and let's just hope I pick right. Let's begin. Dick Grayson was the son of two acrobats at the circus, and Haley Circus. I was totally just blanked on what. No, it's Haley Circus. Um, that he had it all. He was a prodigy acrobat from the beginning. He was part of their act. He was going to be the next great attraction. The Flying Graces were already a great attraction. And then a guy named Tony Zuko came along and he cut the rope to his parents' high wire act, and they died. And Bruce Wayne was in attendance. And in case you don't know, Bruce Wayne is the gosh dang Batman. And having found out that the ropes were sabotaged and knowing the pain that young Dick Grayson was going to be in, he decided to adopt him. Which is, if you really think about it, this is one of the most compassionate things that Batman has ever done, all right? He really saw this kid's pain and realized that he is one of the few people who could understand what he's going through and decided to adopt the kid. So just want to put that as an aside. So he adopts Dick Grayson, and eventually he brings him into the crime-fighting life as Robin. And for many years and many TV series, he was Robin and Robin alone. But as in all things, a boy becomes a man, and Dick Grayson just decided one day that he didn't like what Batman was doing. And yes, I know that in the comics he was fired or whatever, but I prefer like the more Batman animated series and other versions where he's like, I'm tired of being Robin, I need to be my own person. And so he moved to Bloodhaven, among other places, and he became Nightwing. And he began his own crusade of fighting justice his way, the non-Batman way, while still respecting everything that Batman has done. Now, easily one of the best things about Dick Grayson is his acrobatic ability. It is literally said in the DC Comics Encyclopedia, among other sources, that Dick Grayson is the greatest acrobat in the DC universe. Okay, now to be clear, this makes him more acrobatic than Batman, Wonder Woman, who's very athletic, you haven't known, certain villains like Ragdoll. You know, he is the best. Cassandra Cain, Damian Wayne, all of them. Dick Grayson is the best. He is able to do tricks and feats that are just insane, and part of that is because of his upbringing in the Haley Circus. Some of it is because of his training as Batman, and some of it is just because he's gosh dang Dick Grayson. Okay, this guy is seriously athletic and agile and fast. He is literally able to bounce off of everything and to do whatever the heck he wants. In a recent comic, I believe it was, let's see, Batman Robin Eternal. This was a few years ago, before Rebirth era. He literally was on ground level with don't tell me, Stephanie Brown. There you go, Stephanie Brown, and he literally is on ground level and just ricochets up to a like multi-story window, so where the other Robins are at the time, and he does it so flawlessly that Stephanie can say nothing except "Kiss me, Wonder Boy." He knows. So yeah, and yes, Dick Grayson is a bit of a player. He has been with many women over the years, including Batgirl multiple times, Starfire. I think he was with Huntress once. They insinuated he was with Catwoman once. Back to Batgirl, back to Starfire. Let's see. There was a recent Nightwing arc had it with a Defacer, which I really liked. and they broke it off because of Helena. Okay, yes, actually that's right. He was with two different Huntresses. I just want to be clear, all right? Because there was like the regular Huntress and there was New 52 Huntress. So yeah, but he is seriously athletic and he can do just absolutely insane things. And of course, there is the fact that he was trained by the gosh dang Batman. All right, so we're talking multiple um martial arts masters, including some he didn't learn from Batman. He actually got training from Richard Dragon, who is one of the greatest martial artists in the DC universe, which is not something you throw around very often. All right, because there are like masters and then there are masters, and Richard Dragon is one of those masters. All right, um, he's learned pressure point combat. He has learned, he's even learned lethal combat, though he doesn't like to use it. All right, he apparently even learned the Death Fist, which is a real thing apparently. Uh, so yeah, his skills have been very, very useful. And of course, whether by Batman or his own skills, he is a very great detective. He is actually also stated in the encyclopedia and by other sources that he is the second greatest detective in the world behind only, yeah, you got it, Superman. I'm kidding, it's Batman. But I was going there. But yes, he is the second greatest detective, and he uses his brain and tactical awareness in battle all the time. Because of these skills, he has led the Titans, Teen Titans. He has led Justice League. He's led several Justice League teams in the past. Um, in fact, Batman has said numerous times that he was training Dick so that he could replace him on the Justice League. That's saying something. When Batman says you are going to replace me on the Justice League. So, but to try and name his feats would take hours, and I'm trying to keep this one under 30 minutes this time. I don't even know how I did the last two times, but it did. He's done a lot. Okay, first of all, just the Gotham City villains. He's beaten Catwoman, Joker, Riddler, a bunch of them with Batman or alone. He's defeated them on his own. He's beaten Blockbuster. He's beaten Deathstroke, who we'll get to in a second. That's an important one. He's beaten Damian, okay? And for those who don't know, Damian was literally raised to be the greatest fighter in the world by Ra's and Talia al Ghul and all the League of Assassins, and Dick schooled him multiple times. All right. In fact, during one arc, Damian actually was going to all the past Robins, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, and was trying to beat them so that he could prove he was the greatest Robin. And Dick, knowing he's already beaten him, was like, let's just skip the fight. And he gave him a memento to remember him by. But yeah, he's beaten Damian multiple times, who claims that he is better than everybody and has backed up his skills multiple times. And yet, here you go. He's beaten Jason Todd, who at one point was a more mechanical Batman during Battle for the Cowl, one of my personal favorite comic arcs of all time. He beat him while injured, blinded, drugged with fear toxin, and more. And he still beat Jason, who had guns. Actually, he didn't have guns at that point. I'm sorry. He had the clear advantage, and he still beat him. So and again, this is of course including his Titans career, Teen Titans career, Justice League career. He's done so much. And of course, there is also the other part of his gadgets. He's got his Eskrima sticks, which are, depending on the version you're looking at, cartoons, animation. I said cartoons and animation. Cartoons, comics, movies, whatever. They're usually electrified. They are strong enough to be thrown through metal and stone without much issue. In a recent issue, like a very recent issue of Batman, Dick Grayson actually bounced his baton 37 off of 37 different things, technically, and he got it back in his hand. Think about that. He stood at one spot, threw it on the ground, had it bounce off of 37 different things, and it still came back to his hand. What? All right, and I could list his acrobatic and agility feats, but again, that's like hours. But let's just say he can jump incredible distances, has complete aerial mastery, short of flying. He cannot fly, though he looks like it sometimes. As noted, he can use any surface to bounce off of anything and do whatever the heck he wants. He's got, going back to the gadgets, he's got birdarangs, he's got stun grenades, shock grenades, smoke pellets. Obviously, it's a Batman staple. His suit is bulletproof. It doesn't make much sound, and he's done a lot. Now, if there was one thing that Dick Grayson doesn't do well, it's that even though he puts on a smile, he's actually a bit fearful at times. This has been noted in recent comics, especially, um, and other comics too. He says he always goes into battle with a little bit of fear because, unlike Batman, he doesn't have that perfect confidence. Now, don't get me wrong; he is literally one of the most confident guys on earth. That's why he's been with so many women. But he has that fear, and he does not like superpowers. I mean, he's dated people with superpowers, but he does not like them. At times, it makes him feel inferior, even though he's like peak human condition. This guy has done so much crap, but he is a little bit fearful, and he does get arrogant at times. Okay, it's like that opposite thing. He's both not confident and too confident at the same time. It's crazy, but yeah, he's done a lot though, and he is very deserving as one of the greatest heroes in DC Universe, which has been proven multiple times because he actually became Batman multiple times. Sometimes it was out of necessity, like Batman had to do something and he couldn't be Batman, blah, 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 blah. And then other times he earned it, like in Battle for the Cowl. So it's going to be very interesting to see him in a fight tonight, or next week. Moving on to Matthew Murdock. Matthew Murdock was just a regular kid, albeit one of the son of a boxer, a battling Jack Murdock. And yes, I did know that before watching the Death Battle preview. I watched the Daredevil show and the movies. Come on. So, son of battling Jack Murdock, he wanted to be a boxer just like his dad. And then one day he saves an old man from an accident and he gets chemicals in his eye, making him blind. Later on, he gets a law degree, opens up his own law practice, and continues to support his dad when his dad gets killed by the mob for not throwing a fight he was supposed to. I like the Netflix version the best. I like the the Crusher Creel and everything. That was a great reference. So to get revenge and to take down those who would do damage in the kitchen, the New York kitchen, if you will. That's where he lives, the kitchen. He decided to become Daredevil. And he could do this because while he was blind, the chemicals made him not blind. Yes, now there's been many different interpretations of this. There's been the Ben Affleck echolocation kind of vision. There's been the Netflix World on Fire version. There's been the comics version, which says he's actually like seeing radioactive colors. There's a lot of different ways you can interpret it. But the main thing is he can see, and then sometimes he can see in a way that's actually more in depth because he can see and hear and smell and taste details to an extent that we couldn't even fathom. In fact, in many ways, he's kind of more like an animal than a human in terms of senses. He can hear the slightest movement. He can smell a discharge of a chemical and understand what's going on. He could hear conversations a long way away. And even though he pretends to be blind with his cane to help sell the illusion of him not being Daredevil, I'm not Daredevil. He can see just fine. Like there's a great scene in the Defenders miniseries where Jessica Jones is following him. He realizes he's being followed, and then he just straight up bolts down a alleyway because he can. No need for the stick at all. So yeah. Now in battle, he is trained. He was trained by Stick, who definitely go by the Netflix version. He's one of the most epic characters ever. He was trained by Stick, who wasn't basically a ninja and also blind. And Stick taught him how to use his senses to perceive the battle in a way where he basically wouldn't get hit, more or less. And Daredevil, through other training and his own willpower, would amplify this to an extreme way to where Daredevil is actually one of the best fighters in the Marvel universe. So there's that. I mean, he's taken on Iron Fist, Spider-Man. He's faced Black Panther, Shuri, not T'Challa, though I'm sure he's faced T'Challa. I just didn't find it in my research. He's fought. I believe he was part of the Civil War that happened, so he had to take a side on that. He's fought Kingpin, Gladiator, Stiltman. Yes, that was one of his villains, was Stiltman. The Owl. He's fought a lot of guys, including guys who had, superior strength advantages, speed advantages, and yet Daredevil was able to take them all down because his senses are so insane. He can literally detect things in split seconds and react to them in such split seconds that he can dodge virtually anything. He's dodged gunfire. He's blocked attacks, redirected attacks with only seconds, precious seconds of notice, and everything. He's able to hear the heartbeat of a person, and it can determine, obviously if they're lying or not, or if they're getting anxious or not, which can help determine what they're going to be doing in battle. So in a way, I've seen people define it as precognition, which is very loosely correct, but what are you going to do? So in his journey to protect the kitchen, New York, and everything, he has been on many super teams. He's been on the Defenders. He's been on the Avengers multiple times. He has, helped stop in a Fear Itself arc. He actually battled Nazi robots, like advanced Nazi robots and everything. He has used his batons, which are their own special, unique thing, to punch through concrete, punch through metal, and almost always come back to his hand because he like Captain America can throw it in a way that will make it to where it always comes back to his hand. Very helpful. Yeah, he's just done a lot. He's done a lot. I mean, this is a guy who's been around for so long, and then of course there's been like some absolutely great arcs like the Jeff Lemire arc. Charles Scholl had a great Daredevil arc. Of course, Frank Miller, who brought the black Daredevil costume to life, which was used in the Netflix version. He's been written so many great ways, and he's taken on so many epic bad guys and good guys like Elektra, or bad guys like Bullseye, and everything else. Now, the big question, of course, is about his senses. Can his senses be overloaded? The answer is yes and no. Yes, his senses can be overloaded, but that doesn't mean he's helpless, because even without his radar sense, he has such refined hearing and taste or smell that he can still perceive what you're going to do, or at least get an indication of what you're going to do. Claw, the Black Panther villain, once shot him with his sonic blast, knocked out his radar, and yet Daredevil was still able to beat him because he didn't need his radar to beat him, because he could still hear and sense what they were going to do. Now, there is a weakness. It's that while it takes a lot to overload or trick his senses, it's not impossible. That has to be said here. It is not impossible to hit Daredevil. I mean, this is a guy, yes, he's fought and beaten, like, the Hand, Kingpin, and Bullseye, Elektra, all of them. He still gets hit. All right? I mean, his senses are not perfect. It's a lot like Amuro Ray. Amuro can sense things, but that doesn't mean he's untouchable. It's just not how it works. All right? Even the Flash gets hit, and the Flash can move, multiple times the speed of light. So, yeah, and he still gets hit all the time. So it really is a question of, can you get within his range and outbeat his senses in order to beat him? And there's a reason that he's been around a long time, had some great arcs, and especially now with the Netflix series, which just announced today at the time of this recording that it's come. Season 3 is October 19th. If you didn't see that, go to the Marvel Entertainment Twitter feed. Talking about, they have a small video about it right now. So, yeah. Daredevil is pretty cool. He is the man without fear, and there's a good reason why he's called that. All right. Let's get down to it. 19 minutes. That's not bad. Who's going to win? I don't know. All right. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that's important to note here. Fighting skill-wise, I honestly put them about even. If I was to give an edge, I would actually give the edge to Dick Grayson, because he was trained by Batman, who is, a master of 127 different martial arts. And he has his own special training and his acrobatic skills, which he uses in his training. So, but Daredevil's no slouch. He was trained by Stick. He was trained by the Hand at times, depending on your continuity. He has his own skills, and his senses make it really hard for him to, get hit. Hard, not impossible. So, I'm gonna put them there. Speed and agility it's questionable here, because raw speed I might give the advantage to Dick Grayson, because there have been times where he's had to dodge things that were incredibly fast that Daredevil hasn't. For example, Dick Grayson's best friend is Wally West, one of the Flashes, and there's a panel where he actually captures the Flash. I could not find the panel lead up to it. All I saw was a panel of Dick Grayson, tying up Wally West, which is a feat in and of itself. There's also a panel where Dick has his back to Starfire. He makes a phrase that she finds insulting, and then she releases a starbolt on him, and he dodges it. Remember, his back is to her at this point, so he had to see and react against that starbolt in point-blank time. But then again, you got Daredevil, who is able to, react in split seconds. Also, they both dodge point-blank gunfire. All right, Dick had, when he was Batman once, he had a gun literally at his head, and then the panel, right next panel, showed the flint of the gun firing off, and then Dick dodges. So he literally had a fraction of a second to dodge a bullet, and he did it. And then Daredevil's done that multiple times. They both dodge sniper fire, laser fire, machine gun fire. They both done that. So in reaction speed, I would actually give them a tie, because they've both done it themselves, and Dick does it without the radar sense and super senses of Daredevil. Now, obviously, the stealth factor is a wash, because Daredevil doesn't need stealth, and Dick has stealth. He loves his stealth. His suit is actually made to not make sound, but Daredevil can see him anyway. He can sense him. Then there's no doubt that Daredevil will almost always know where Dick Grayson is. That is a virtual assuredness. Certainty. It is a guaranteed certainty. Doesn't sound right. Whatever. He's going to know. All right? I mean, let's just be frank here, because even though Dick Grayson might have his suit not make a sound, he has hair, and he could hear the hair moving. Not to mention, he could hear his heartbeat. So the super senses actually cancel out the stealth. And as noted, Daredevil's senses can be overloaded, but it takes a lot, and he just doesn't care. He doesn't need it. As long as he can hear, which he takes a lot to take out his hearing, he's going to be able to sense you. And again, even if you take out his hearing, he could smell or taste the air. He can feel the movement of the air. It's a multi-layered thing. So the real question. Now, okay, also their suits are pretty much similar. Daredevil's is taser proof, fire proof. He's been almost burned alive multiple times by like Typhoid Mary and them. Didn't like her interpretation in Iron Fist season 2, but whatever. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for Iron Fist to come into Death Files so they can try not to use the Netflix series. That'll work. But it's really hard. And of course, Dick's suit is bulletproof and shockproof and blade proof and blah blah blah. So the question becomes, who can kill who first? That is the real question here. They both can die. They are human. They are pure human. I mean, yes, Daredevil has special abilities, but he's still human. Okay? And they're both durable. They've taken incredible blows and lived. But who's going to kill who first? In theory, Daredevil has an inherent advantage in that no matter what Dick does, he can't escape his sight. Okay? And I'm just going to throw all the senses into his sight, because that's basically what he does. But here's the thing. Nightwing is smart. Okay? He is, the second greatest detective in the DC universe. So there is no doubt that eventually he's gonna figure out that Daredevil is not only blind, despite the suit. Um, he's gonna realize that he can sense him anywhere. And the moment that happens, he's gonna change up his game. But will that be enough to take out Daredevil? There's no doubt that Daredevil is going to have an awareness of where he is. But Dick is smart enough to know that if something doesn't work, he has to try something new. He is one of the most adaptable people in the DC universe, even more than Batman, I would say. I mean, he doesn't get flustered very easily. And so when he sees a Daredevil is doing something that he shouldn't be able to do, like sense him when he's, hiding and everything, uh, he'll be able to think of something. And oh man, I'm really gonna do this, aren't I? Ironically, they both have one big weakness, and the weakness is their face. Both Nightwing and Daredevil have basically leave their heads exposed, and Nightwing more than Daredevil, obviously, especially the Netflix version, which is what they're using as the costume. So this area is still exposed, so they can still do a lot of damage there. But the question remains. Oh gosh, I'm really gonna do this, aren't I? Who's gonna win? I actually just got a picture in my head on how they're gonna end the death battle, and it goes against my pick because I think that's one of the ways they can do the ending. But crap. All right, I am picking Nightwing. I'm gonna regret this. Here's why. I feel personally that Nightwing deals with a greater scope and skill of people than Daredevil. Yes, Daredevil has dealt with Captain America, Spider-Man, um, Black Panther, T'Challa, and Shuri, and all of them. But Dick deals with speedsters. He got hit by Donna Troy, who is pseudo Wonder Woman basically. Don't get into her origin story. I promise you, it's messed up. He beat Deathstroke, who is literally one of the greatest, who is to many the greatest fighter in the DC universe. He's beaten him multiple times. In fact, in one battle, he actually got stabbed through the bat suit, then stabbed basically in the face, and fought Deathstroke to a standstill until some guards got involved and they had to be saved and blah blah blah. And then remember that Jason Todd fight I told you about? He was blinded, and it specifically said he said to himself, I have to feel him coming and react perfectly. And I did. And I do, So even when blinded, he can react just like Daredevil. And there's been other scenes where he's done a lot of things that Daredevil has done. Now, Daredevil is no doubt going to be a problem, but I think, despite my gut screaming at me to pick Daredevil, that Nightwing is going to prevail here because and Matt's not dumb. That's not an issue here, but I think tactically Dick Grayson is smarter. He has beaten more skilled people. He's beaten people trained by Batman. He beat Ra's al Ghul, who has hundreds of years of fighting experience. He's beaten Cassandra Cain, who has been known to take out Batman, and more. He has incredible durability. He has great willpower, just like Daredevil, but still, I think that in the end, Dick Grayson is going to win. I'm going to regret this, I'm sure, but for now, I am picking Nightwing. So with that, I'm ending this episode of Talk Talk before I change my mind. Who do you think is going to win between Nightwing and Daredevil? Do let me know in the comments below, and let me know if you're excited for the live action death battle. I really, really think this is going to be good, so just please give it a chance, and let's get this 3 million views plus so we can get another one. So, I thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I know you were listening, and I will see you around.